creates the position of the military spouse liaison within the Department of Veterans Affairs, and it also assigns duties. Just for some background, and as you already know, the Department of Veterans Affairs is a state agency which was created in 1975, and in cooperation with local governments and the federal government, they help provide services to veterans and their families. This includes medical care, assistance with claims for benefits, counseling, financial assistance, and also assistance with education, training, and employment. Under this bill, as I mentioned earlier, the position of the military spouse liaison is created. The duties include, but are not limited to, conducting outreach and advocating on behalf of military spouses in Washington, providing assistance and information to military spouses seeking professional licenses and credentials or other employment in Washington. Also, researching issues facing military spouses and creating informational materials to assist them and their families. The liaison is encouraged but not required to periodically report to the legislature in his or her work, and also to participate in policy development related to military spouses. There is a fiscal impact and also a fiscal note in your packet. The cost for one full-time FTE is estimated at $128,000 per year, general fund state ongoing. You will note that the fiscal note is for the House bill. However, the only difference between the House bill and the substitute is that the substitute added an intent statement. And that concludes my remarks.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Murrell? Seeing none, thank you very much for the briefing. We'll now go to public testimony. Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Clippert, I did not see you in the audience. If you would like to come forward, knowing that we have very limited time, we would like you to tee up your proposal. Good sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, State Representative Brad Clippert from the 8th Legislative District, and thank you for that compliment. Most people see the shiny bald head and go, there's Clippert, so you didn't see that, so thank you. What a compliment.
Camouflage.
So we have the Joint Committee for Veterans Affairs, Military Operations, House and Senate. One day, hurrying my little story along here, people came and testified to us, spouses, saying that we are having trouble, military spouses getting employment, even though we're certified and professionals in many different fields. When we come to Washington State, we could use some help. Man, I latched onto that and said, we need a military liaison. And so I went and talked to the two ladies who were there, and one said, I'd do that. And so that started the progress, and I contacted the Department of Veterans Affairs, Washington State, and they said, great idea. So you said short, that's short. I hope that you guys will see fit to pass this, because its potential is exponential. A, we get military spouses working and contributing to the economy, and B, there's some of those fields are critical fields that we're critically short in, like nurses. So wow, and we're just talking win, 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 win.
The good news, Representative Clippert, is that we're hearing the bill and everyone that's signed up is in favor.
Sir, at your service. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. For public testimony, Representative Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Alfie Alvarado, Whitney Stafford, Tanya Strick-Fogelman. And then the following three people, be ready to come up right after them: Annika Trabuco, Ashley Delaney, and Jamie Lynn Bloom.
And due to our time constraints, we're going to be limiting public testimony to 2 minutes each. As we approach 0 hour, we're going to end up making some modifications for the bills that are later on the agenda. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Alfie Alvarado, and I'm the director of your Washington Department of Veterans Affairs. Susan Levine and I, over the last summer, did 6 sessions with military spouses to be able to listen to what their issues were and to be able to recognize their service and sacrifice. About 270 individuals, including over 125 spouses, attended, and the main challenges focused on employer relationships and bias against military spouses, access to and knowledge of employment support services, credential portability, and access to affordable child care. Recommended solutions cover a wide range of strategies to include improving public-private partnerships, removing employment barriers, and on. And we currently do not have the resources in the Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs to be able to effect any of these recommendations. This is why this bill is so important to us, to ensure that we can have a person that is going to be centered to be able to address and help us in research, addressing the issues of military spouses, occasionally do case-by-case management to make sure that spouses do have a place and a person that is safe to go to and ensure that they can address a number of their issues. This is my testimony, and I will pass on.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I am Tanya Struik-Vogelman, and I'm here to testify in support of House Bill 2200. I realize that everyone needing information can do his or her own research, but the difference for us military families is the following. We move a lot. I have moved 6 times in the past 10 years, and we have children, of which our youngest turned 5 years old last month. He, for example, has lived in 3 different countries and 2 different states, and we aren't an exception. Every country and state has different laws, licensing and certification processes, and organizations working with or for military spouses and veterans. A dedicated liaison will help to provide the resources and direct us to the correct departments, offices, and organizations, etc. And having the military spouse liaison available at a state level will have a huge impact. Questions like school district transfers, military and veteran spouse preference, childcare arrangements, transfer of licenses and certifications, and which nonprofits in Washington state are available concerning employment and education, and recent changes in legislation concerning military families and veteran families can be asked at one centralized point. Being able to contact a liaison about these topics before a physical move across country can avoid problems or challenges, will definitely shorten the licensing transfer process, and will simplify the search for employment and improve the chances of gaining meaningful employment. But it will also make the integration within the community easier. This all will relieve the stress of not only having to relocate your family, the worry how to make ends meet on one income, and not having to invent the wheel once again. Let's be honest, we military families already have enough on our plate while moving across country and back to Washington state. Last but not least, I hope by creating this position, Washington state will lead the way once again, and other states will follow, as relieving some stress for our military spouses will result in our service members being able to concentrate on their mission and not having to worry about their families. Thank you for hearing my testimony, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you.
Chairman, members of the committee, good afternoon. My name is Whitney Stafford, and I'm here in support of House Bill 2200 today. I have been a military spouse for over a decade, and we're lucky ducks. We've had the unusual opportunity to be here all 10 years. So we have some keen insights. Many years ago, I became fed up with employment discrimination and lack of appropriate childcare. So I decided to start advocating for my community and imploring other spouses to do the same. I have learned that there are 3 barriers to this: empowerment, education, and big surprise, transitional lifestyles. In policy, the best outcomes usually occur when we have knowledgeable parties, when we have passionate advocates, and when we have time. Building relationships, networking, creating effective policies and programs, that takes time. Time that if you're not in place for a decade is a major barrier. Okay? There's one key to success, though, I've learned, is that the faces change, the names change, the addresses change, the problems do not. What is happening for one group of spouses is felt throughout the entire community of spouses. In closing, what I would like to suggest today is that the military spouse liaison position gives our community the missing piece, that time and consistency. It is a bridge between our community and the resources, the information, the advocacy that we need, the legislators and other state entities, and likewise for you guys to access us. And with that, that's the conclusion of my testimony, and I'm open for comments or questions.
Thank you. I think you all made your points very well. Representative Robinson, will you call up the next panel, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Annika Trabucco, Ashley Delaney, and Jamie Lindblom.
Good afternoon. Please begin whenever you're ready.
Chairman and members of the committee, good afternoon. My name is Annika Trabucco, and I am here to support House Bill 2200. We're lucky in Washington state to have an enormous number of resources that support military families. However, due to the variety and the sheer number of these resources, it can be daunting and severely time-consuming for a military spouse to figure out which resources actually exist, which ones they're eligible for, and who can help them overcome their specific barriers. Then they can hopefully find employment. There are over 620,000 active duty, Guard, Reserve, veteran, and retired service members in Washington State. If just 1/3 of them are married, this bill will positively affect more than 250,000 military spouses. We know that there is at least a $9 billion economic impact due to the existence of JBLM. Imagine what the statewide economic impact would be if all the spouses who wanted to work in meaningful careers were able to do so. We need somebody who is trained and devoted solely to assisting military spouses, those that are here permanently and those that are here temporarily. Please do not mistake our ask for help as being unable to do for ourselves. We are resilient, creative problem solvers. We are asking for a position that will direct military spouses through a more streamlined process and to lower the time of unemployment and underemployment. We are not asking you to do all the work for us, but to work alongside us so that we can have meaningful, productive careers while we live in Washington State. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and committee members. My name is Jamie Lynn Bloom, and I'm here to testify in support of House Bill 2200 and the imperative need for a military spouse liaison. We need someone appointed to advocate on our behalf for issues such as employment. I've been a military spouse for 8 years and have been stationed in 3 states. I have gaps in my resume where I couldn't get a job in one state because I was repeatedly asked if I was a military spouse. This is not okay and is actually illegal. Many spouses want to be taken seriously, and we want real jobs. We're doctors, lawyers, social workers, nurses, and so on. We are educated professionals who want local companies and state agencies to know there is a large pool of fantastically qualified candidates willing to work hard and give our best. I'm fortunate in that recently I did find gainful employment within my career field, and my coworkers not only appreciate the skills and experience I bring to the table, but they applaud the sacrifices I have to make almost daily in order to be at work and take care of my children while my husband works a long schedule with high expectations. Unfortunately, when I first moved to Washington 3 years ago, the atmosphere I found myself in when I got a job was negative and hostile toward me because I was a military spouse. We need an advocate in our corner. We need a liaison to inform employers that we are valuable and worth hiring. We are here living in your community, and we need your help. We have so much to contribute, and we yearn for belonging. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Ashley Delaney. I'm from Lacey, Washington. I'm here representing myself as a military spouse of an active duty member of the Air Force stationed at JBLM. I'm here in support of House Bill 2200, which creates the position of the military spouse liaison. I did have prepared testimony today, but my fellow military spouses could not have said it better, and I echo everything they said. And I'm here for any questions.
Thank you for modeling such good behavior. Thank you all three very much for your testimony. That will conclude the public testimony on House Bill 2200 and the public hearing on House Bill 2200. And we'll now proceed to House Bill 2228 with a staff briefing.